The Bhagavad Gita, or the Song of God, was revealed by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna on the threshold of the epic war of Mahabharata. A decisive battle between two sets of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, was just about to commence on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. A detailed account of the reasons that led to such a colossal war is given under Introduction, the setting of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is primarily a conversation between Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna. However, the first chapter begins with a dialogue between King Dhritarashtra and his minister Sanjay. Dhritarashtra, being blind, could not leave his palace in Hastinapur, but was eager to know the ongoings of the battlefield. Sanjay was a disciple of sage Vedvyas, the author of the epic Mahabharata and several other Hindu scriptures. Sage Vedvyas possessed a mystic ability to see and hear events occurring in distant places. He had bestowed upon Sanjay the miraculous power of distant vision. Therefore, Sanjay could see and hear what transpired on the battleground of Kurukshetra, and gave a first-hand account to King Dhritarashtra while still being in his palace. Chapter 1, Arjuna Vishad Yoga. Lamenting the consequences of war. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after gathering on the holy field of Kurukshetra and desiring to fight, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu are doing? Sanjay said, on observing the Pandav army standing in military formation. King Duryodhana approached his teacher Dronacharya and said the following words. Duryodhana said, Respected teacher, behold the mighty army of the sons of Pandav, so expertly arrayed for battle by your own gifted disciple, the son of Drupad. Behold, in their ranks are many powerful warriors, like Yuyudhan, Virat, and Drupad, wielding mighty bows and equal in military powers to Bhim and Arjun. There are also accomplished heroes like Drishtaketu, Chekitan, the gallant king of Kashi, Purujit, Kumtibhoj, and Shaibya, all the best of men. In their ranks, they also have the courageous Yudhamanyu, the gallant Uttamaja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi, who are all great warrior chiefs. O best of Brahmins, hear too about the principal generals on our side, who are especially qualified to lead. These I now recount unto you. There are personalities like yourself, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and Bhurishrava, who are ever victorious in battle. Also, there are many other heroic warriors who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. They are all skilled in the art of warfare and equipped with various kinds of weapons. The strength of our army is unlimited, and we are safely marshalled by Grandsire Bhishma, while the strength of the Pandav army, carefully marshalled by Bhim, is limited. Therefore, I call upon all the generals of the Kaurava army now to give full support to Grandsire Bhishma, even as you defend your respective strategic points. Then, the grand old man of the Kuru dynasty, the glorious patriarch Bhishma, roared like a lion and blew his conch shell very loudly, giving joy to Duryodhana. Thereafter, conches, kettle drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns suddenly blared forth, and their combined sound was overwhelming. Then, from amidst the Pandav army, seated in a glorious chariot drawn by white horses, Madhav and Arjun blew their divine conch shells. Rishikesh blew his conch shell, called Panchajanya, and Arjun blew the Devdutta. Bhim, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his mighty conch, called Pondra. King Yudhishthir blew the Ananta Vijay, while Nakul and Sahdev blew the Sughosh and Mani Pushpak. The excellent archer and king of Kashi, the great warrior Shikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virat, and the invincible Satyaki, Drupad, the 5 sons of Draupadi, and the mighty armed Abhimanyu, son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells, O ruler of the earth. The terrific sound thundered across the sky and the earth, and shattered the hearts of your sons, O Dhritarashtra. At that time, the son of Pandu, Arjun, who had the insignia of Hanuman on the flag of his chariot, took up his bow. Seeing your sons arrayed against him, Arjun then spoke the following words to Sri Krishna. Arjun said, O infallible one, please take my chariot to the middle of both armies, so that I may look at the warriors arrayed for battle, whom I must fight in this great combat. I desire to see those who have come here to fight on the side of the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra, wishing to please him. Sanjay said, O Dhritarashtra, having thus been addressed by Arjun, the conqueror of sleep, Sri Krishna then drew the magnificent chariot between the 2 armies. In the presence of Bhishma, Dronacharya, and all the other kings, Sri Krishna said, O Parth, behold these Kurus, gathered here. There, Arjun could see stationed in both armies, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, cousins, sons, nephews, grandnephews, friends, fathers-in-law, and well-wishers. Seeing all his relatives present there, Arjun, the son of Kunti, was overwhelmed with compassion and with deep sorrow spoke the following words. Arjun said, O Krishna, seeing my own kinsmen arrayed for battle here and intent on killing each other, my limbs are giving way and my mouth is drying up. My whole body shudders. My hair is standing on end. My bow, the Gandhiv, is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning all over. My mind is in quandary and whirling in confusion. I am unable to hold myself steady any longer. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon, I only see omens of misfortune. I do not foresee how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle. O Krishna, I do not desire victory, kingdom, or the happiness accruing to it. Of what avail will be a kingdom, pleasures, or even life itself, when the very persons for whom we covet them are standing before us for battle? Teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, and other kinsmen are present here, staking their lives and riches. O Madhusudan, I do not wish to slay them, even if they attack me. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, what satisfaction will we derive from the dominion over the 3 worlds, what to speak of this earth? O maintainer of all living entities, what pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Even though they may be aggressors, sin will certainly come upon us if we slay them. Hence, it does not behove us to kill our own cousins, the sons of Dhritarashtra, and friends. O Madhav, Krishna, how can we hope to be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Their thoughts are overpowered by greed, and they see no wrong in annihilating their relatives or wreaking treachery upon friends. Yet, O Janardhan, Krishna, why should we, who can clearly see the crime in killing our kindred, not turn away from this sin? When a dynasty is destroyed, its traditions get vanquished, and the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. With the preponderance of vice, O Krishna, the women of the family become immoral, and from the immorality of women, O descendant of Vrishni, unwanted progeny are born. An increase in unwanted children results in hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family. Deprived of sacrificial offerings, the ancestors of such corrupt families also fall. Through the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted progeny, a variety of social and family welfare activities are ruined. O Janardhan, Krishna, I have heard from the learned that those who destroy family traditions dwell in hell for an indefinite period of time. Alas! How strange it is that we have set our mind to perform this great sin with horrifying consequences. Driven by the desire for kingly pleasures, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. It would be better if, with weapons in hand, the sons of Dhritarashtra kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Sanjay said, speaking thus, Arjun cast aside his bow and arrows, and sunk into the seat of his chariot, his mind in distress and overwhelmed with grief. Chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga. The Yoga of Analytical Knowledge. In this chapter, Arjun reiterates to Sri Krishna that he is unable to cope with his current situation, where he has to kill his elders and teachers. He refuses to take part in such a battle, and requests Sri Krishna to be his spiritual teacher, and guide him on the proper path of action. Then the Supreme Lord starts imparting divine knowledge to Arjun. He begins with the immortal nature of the soul, which is eternal and imperishable. Death only destroys the physical body, but the soul continues its journey. Just as a person discards his old clothes and adorns new ones, the soul keeps changing bodies from one lifetime to another. The Lord then reminds Arjun that his social responsibility as a warrior is to fight for upholding righteousness. He explains that performing one's social duty is a virtuous act that can take him to the celestial abodes, while dereliction only leads to infamy and humiliation. At first, Sri Krishna tries to motivate Arjun at a mundane level. Then he moves deeper and starts explaining to Arjun the science of work. He asks Arjun to perform his deeds without any attachment to their fruits. This science of working without desire for rewards is called the Yoga of the Intellect or Buddhi Yoga. He further advises that the intellect should be used to control the desire for rewards from work. By working with such intent, the bondage-creating karmas get transformed into bondage-breaking karmas, and a state beyond sorrows can be attained. Arjun is curious to know more about those who are situated in divine consciousness. Sri Krishna, therefore, describes how persons who have attained transcendence are free from attachment, fear, and anger. They are undisturbed and equipoised in every situation. With their senses subdued, they keep their minds always absorbed in God. He also explains the progression of afflictions of the mind, such as greed, anger, lust, etc., and advises how these can be overcome. Chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, the Yoga of Analytical Knowledge. Sanjay said, seeing Arjun overwhelmed with pity, his mind grief-stricken, and his eyes full of tears, Shri Krishna spoke the following words. The Supreme Lord said, My dear Arjun, how has this delusion overcome you in this hour of peril? It is not befitting an honorable person. It leads not to the higher abodes, but to disgrace. O Parth, it does not befit you to yield to this unmanliness. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O vanquisher of enemies. Arjun said, O Madhusudan, how can I shoot arrows in battle on men like Bhishma and Dronacharya, who are worthy of my worship? O destroyer of enemies? It would be better to live in this world by begging, than to enjoy life by killing these noble elders, who are my teachers. If we kill them, the wealth and pleasures we enjoy will be tainted with blood. We do not even know which result of this war is preferable for us, conquering them or being conquered by them. Even after killing them, we will not desire to live. Yet they have taken the side of the sons of Dhritarashtra, and now stand before us on the battlefield. I am confused about my duty, and am besieged with anxiety and faint-heartedness. I am your disciple, and am surrendered to you. Please instruct me for certain what is best for me. I can find no means of driving away this anguish that is drying up my senses. Even if I win a prosperous and unrivaled kingdom on the earth, or gain sovereignty like the celestial gods, I will be unable to dispel this grief. Sanjay said, having thus spoken, Gurkesh, that chastiser of enemies, addressed Rishikesh. Govind, I shall not fight, and became silent. O Dhritarashtra, thereafter, in the midst of both the armies, Shri Krishna smilingly spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjun. The Supreme Lord said, while you speak words of wisdom, you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. The wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Just as the embodied soul continuously passes from childhood to youth to old age, similarly, at the time of death, the soul passes into another body. The wise are not deluded by this. O son of Kunti, the contact between the senses and the sense objects gives rise to fleeting perceptions of happiness and distress. These are non-permanent, and come and go like the winter and summer seasons. O descendant of Bharat, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. O Arjun, noblest amongst men, that person who is not affected by happiness and distress, and remains steady in both, becomes eligible for liberation. Of the transient there is no endurance, and of the eternal there is no cessation. This has verily been observed and concluded by the seers of the truth, after studying the nature of both. That which pervades the entire body, know it to be indestructible. No one can cause the destruction of the imperishable soul. Only the material body is perishable, the embodied soul within is indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharat. Neither of them is in knowledge, the one who thinks the soul can slay and the one who thinks the soul can be slain. For truly, the soul neither kills nor can it be killed. The soul is neither born, nor does it ever die, nor having once existed, does it ever cease to be. The soul is without birth, eternal, immortal, and ageless. It is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. O Parth, how can one who knows the soul to be imperishable, eternal, unborn, and immutable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? As a person sheds worn-out garments and wears new ones, likewise, at the time of death, the soul casts off its worn-out body and enters a new one. Weapons cannot shred the soul, nor can fire burn it. Water cannot wet it, nor can the wine dry it. The soul is unbreakable and incombustible. It can neither be dampened nor dried. It is everlasting, in all places, unalterable, immutable, and primordial. The soul is spoken of as invisible, inconceivable, and unchangeable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. However, if you think that the self is subject to constant birth and death, O mighty armed Arjun, even then you should not grieve like this. Death is certain for one who has been born, and rebirth is inevitable for one who has died. Therefore, you should not lament over the inevitable. O scion of Bharat, all created beings are unmanifest before birth, manifest in life, and again unmanifest on death. So why grieve? Some see the soul as amazing, some describe it as amazing, and some hear of the soul as amazing, while others, even on hearing, cannot understand it at all. O Arjun, the soul that dwells within the body is immortal, therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. Besides, considering your duty as a warrior, you should not waver. Indeed, for a warrior, there is no better engagement than fighting for upholding of righteousness. O Parth, happy are the warriors to whom such opportunities to defend righteousness come unsought, opening for them the stairway to the celestial abodes. However, if you refuse to fight this righteous war, abandoning your social duty and reputation, you will certainly incur sin. People will speak of you as a coward and a deserter. For a respectable person, infamy is worse than death. The great generals who hold you in high esteem will think that you fled from the battlefield out of fear, and thus will lose their respect for you. Your enemies will defame and humiliate you with unkind words, disparaging your might. Alas, what could be more painful than that? If you fight, you will either be slain on the battlefield and go to the celestial abodes, or you will gain victory and enjoy the kingdom on earth. Therefore arise with determination, O son of Kunti, and be prepared to fight. Fight for the sake of duty, treating alike happiness and distress, loss and gain, victory and defeat. Fulfilling your responsibility in this way, you will never incur sin. Here, I have explained to you Sankhya Yoga, or analytic knowledge regarding the nature of the soul. Now listen, O Parth, as I reveal Buddhi Yoga, or the Yoga of intellect. When you work with such understanding, you will be freed from the bondage of karma. Working in this state of consciousness, there is no loss or adverse result, and even a little effort saves one from great danger. O descendant of the Kurus, the intellect of those who are on this path is resolute, and their aim is one-pointed. But the intellect of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Those with limited understanding get attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas, which advocate ostentatious rituals for elevation to the celestial abodes, and presume no higher principle is described in them. They glorify only those portions of the Vedas that please their senses, and perform pompous ritualistic ceremonies for attaining high birth, opulence, sensual enjoyment, and elevation to the heavenly planets. With their minds deeply attached to worldly pleasures, and their intellects bewildered by such things, they are unable to possess the resolute determination for success on the path to God. The Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature, O Arjun. Rise above the three modes to a state of pure spiritual consciousness, freeing yourself from dualities, eternally fixed in truth, and without concern for material gain and safety, be situated in the self. Whatever purpose is served by a small well of water is naturally served in all respects by a large lake. Similarly, one who realizes the absolute truth also fulfills the purpose of all the Vedas. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. Be steadfast in the performance of your duty, O Arjun, abandoning attachment to success and failure. Such equanimity is called Yoga. Seek refuge in divine knowledge and insight, O Arjun, and discard reward-seeking actions that are certainly inferior to works performed with the intellect established in divine knowledge. Miserly are those who seek to enjoy the fruits of their works. One who prudently practices the science of work without attachment can get rid of both good and bad reactions in this life itself. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of working skillfully in proper consciousness. The wise endowed with equanimity of intellect abandon attachment to the fruits of actions, which bind one to the cycle of life and death. By working in such consciousness, they attain the state beyond all suffering. When your intellect crosses the quagmire of delusion, you will then acquire indifference to what has been heard and what is yet to be heard about enjoyments in this world and the next. When your intellect ceases to be allured by the fruitive sections of the Vedas and remains steadfast in divine consciousness, you will then attain the state of perfect yoga. Arjun said, O Keshav, what is the disposition of one who is situated in divine consciousness? How does an enlightened person talk? How does he sit? How does he walk? The Supreme Lord said, O Parth, when one discards all selfish desires and cravings of the senses that torment the mind, and becomes satisfied in the realization of the self, such a person is said to be transcendentally situated. One whose mind remains undisturbed amidst misery, who does not crave for pleasure, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady wisdom. One who remains unattached under all conditions, and is neither delighted by good fortune nor dejected by tribulation, he is a sage with perfect knowledge. One who is able to withdraw the senses from their objects, just as a tortoise withdraws its limbs into its shell, is established in divine wisdom. Aspirants may restrain the senses from their objects of enjoyment, but the taste for the sense objects remains. However, even this taste ceases for those who realize the Supreme. The senses are so strong and turbulent, O son of Kunti, that they can forcibly carry away the mind even of a person endowed with discrimination who practices self-control. They are established in perfect knowledge, who subdue their senses and keep their minds ever absorbed in me. While contemplating on the objects of the senses, one develops attachment to them. Attachment leads to desire, and from desire arises anger. Anger leads to clouding of judgment, which results in bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, the intellect gets destroyed, and when the intellect is destroyed, one is ruined. But one who controls the mind, and is free from attachment and aversion, even while using the objects of the senses, attains the grace of God. By divine grace comes the peace in which all sorrows end. And the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind soon becomes firmly established in God. But an undisciplined person, who has not controlled the mind and senses, can neither have a resolute intellect nor steady contemplation on God. For one who never unites the mind with God, there is no peace. And how can one who lacks peace be happy? Just as a strong wind sweeps a boat off its chartered course on the water. Even one of the senses on which the mind focuses can lead the intellect astray. Therefore, one who has restrained the senses from their objects, O mighty armed Arjun, is firmly established in transcendental knowledge. What all beings consider as day is the night of ignorance for the wise, and what all creatures see as night is the day for the introspective sage. Just as the ocean remains undisturbed by the incessant flow of waters from rivers merging into it. Likewise, the sage who is unmoved despite the flow of desirable objects all around him attains peace, and not the person who strives to satisfy desires. That person, who gives up all material desires and lives free from a sense of greed, proprietorship, and egoism, attains perfect peace. O Parth, such is the state of an enlightened soul that having attained it, one is never again deluded. Being established in this consciousness even at the hour of death, one is liberated from the cycle of life and death and reaches the supreme abode of God. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, the Yoga of Action. In this chapter, Shri Krishna expounds on Karma Yoga or the Yoga of Action. He explains to Arjun that nobody can remain without action, even for a moment. Bound by their inherent modes of nature, all beings are always engaged in some work. Superior are those who practice Karma Yoga and continue to work diligently to fulfill their responsibilities externally. But internally they are unattached to them. However, the hypocrites display external renunciation but internally dwell upon the objects of their senses. Shri Krishna says that all living beings are an integral part of God's creation, and have roles and responsibilities to fulfill. Vedas prescribe performing yajna to please the celestial gods, who in return bestow material gains. These yajnas cause rains to fall, which aids in the production of food grains for the sustenance of life on earth. Those who live only for the delight of their senses, and do not accept their responsibility in this cycle, are sinful and living in vain. However, Sri Krishna says that, when works or prescribed duties are performed as an obligation to God, they are also considered yajna, sacrifice. He then explains that unlike the rest of humankind, the enlightened souls are not obliged to fulfill their bodily responsibilities. They are situated in knowledge of the self, and execute higher responsibilities of the soul. However, they do not abandon their social duties, as it may create disharmony in the minds of the common people, who look up to them for inspiration. Therefore, the wise continue to work without any personal motive, only to set good examples for others to follow. Else, the ignorant may abandon their prescribed duties prematurely. Sri Krishna mentions one such example of the enlightened King Janak, who performed his earthly duties as an ideal king and father. Arjun then asks Sri Krishna why people commit sin, even when unwilling, as if by some force. Lord Krishna explains that lust alone is the sinful all-devouring enemy. Similar to a fire that is covered by smoke, or a mirror covered in dust, desire shrouds one's knowledge and deludes the intellect. In the end, Sri Krishna advises Arjun that by controlling the senses, mind, and intellect, one can slay this enemy called desire, which is an embodiment of sin. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, the Yoga of Action. Arjun said, O Janardhan, if you consider knowledge superior to action, then why do you ask me to wage this terrible war? My intellect is bewildered by your ambiguous advice. Please tell me decisively the one path by which I may attain the highest good. The Lord said, O sinless one, the two paths leading to enlightenment were previously explained by me. The path of knowledge, for those inclined toward contemplation, and the path of work for those inclined toward action. One cannot achieve freedom from karmic reactions by merely abstaining from work. Nor can one attain perfection of knowledge by mere physical renunciation. There is no one who can remain without action, even for a moment. Indeed, all beings are compelled to act by their qualities born of material nature, the three gunas. Those who restrain the external organs of action, while continuing to dwell on sense objects in the mind, certainly delude themselves and are to be called hypocrites. But those karma yogis who control their knowledge senses with the mind, and engage the working senses in working without attachment, are certainly superior. You should thus perform your prescribed Vedic duties, since action is superior to inaction. By ceasing activity, even your bodily maintenance will not be possible. Work must be done as a yajna to the Supreme Lord, otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, for the satisfaction of God, perform your prescribed duties without being attached to the results. In the beginning of creation, Brahma created humankind along with duties, and said, "Prosper in the performance of these yagyas, sacrifices, for they shall bestow upon you all you wish to achieve. By your sacrifices, the celestial gods will be pleased. And by cooperation between humans and the celestial gods, great prosperity will reign for all. The celestial gods, being satisfied by the performance of sacrifice, will grant you all the desired necessities of life. But those who enjoy what is given to them, without making offerings in return, are verily thieves. The spiritually minded, who eat food that is first offered in sacrifice, are released from all kinds of sin. Others, who cook food for their own enjoyment, verily eat only sin. All living beings subsist on food, and food is produced by rains. Rains come from the performance of sacrifice, and sacrifice is produced by the performance of prescribed duties. The duties for human beings are described in the Vedas, and the Vedas are manifested by God Himself. Therefore, the all-pervading Lord is eternally present in acts of sacrifice. O Parth, those who do not accept their responsibility in the cycle of sacrifice, established by the Vedas, are sinful. They live only for the delight of their senses, indeed their lives are in vain. But those who rejoice in the self, who are illumined and fully satisfied in the self, for them, there is no duty. Such self-realized souls have nothing to gain or lose, either in discharging or renouncing their duties. Nor do they need to depend on other living beings to fulfill their self-interest. Therefore, giving up attachment, perform actions as a matter of duty, and by working without being attached to the fruits, one attains the Supreme. By performing their prescribed duties, King Janak and others attained perfection. You should also perform your duties to set an example for the good of the world. Whatever actions great persons perform, common people follow. Whatever standards they set, all the world pursues. There is no duty for me to do in all the three worlds, nor do I have anything to gain or attain. Yet, I am engaged in prescribed duties. If I did not carefully perform the prescribed duties, O Parth, all men would follow my path in all respects. If I ceased to perform prescribed actions, all these worlds would perish. I would be responsible for the pandemonium that would prevail, and would thereby destroy the peace of the human race. As ignorant people perform their duties with attachment to the results, O scion of Bharat, so should the wise act without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. The wise should not create discord in the intellects of ignorant people, who are attached to fruitive actions, by inducing them to stop work. Rather, by performing their duties in an enlightened manner, they should inspire the ignorant also to do their prescribed duties. All activities are carried out by the three modes of material nature. But in ignorance, the soul, deluded by false identification with the body, thinks of itself as the doer. O mighty armed Arjun, illumined persons distinguish the soul as distinct from gunas and karmas. They perceive that it is only the gunas, in the shape of the senses, mind, and others, that move among the gunas, in the shape of the objects of perception, and thus they do not get entangled in them. Those who are deluded by the operation of the gunas become attached to the results of their actions. But the wise who understand these truths should not unsettle such ignorant people who know very little. Performing all works as an offering unto me, constantly meditate on me as the Supreme. Become free from desire and selfishness, and with your mental grief departed, fight. Those who abide by these teachings of mine, with profound faith and free from envy, are released from the bondage of karma. But those who find faults with my teachings, being bereft of knowledge and devoid of discrimination, they disregard these principles and bring about their own ruin. Even wise people act according to their natures, for all living beings are propelled by their natural tendencies. What will one gain by repression? The senses naturally experience attachment and aversion to the sense objects. But do not be controlled by them, for they are waylayers and foes. It is far better to perform one's natural prescribed duty, though tinged with faults, than to perform another's prescribed duty, though perfectly. In fact, it is preferable to die in the discharge of one's duty than to follow the path of another, which is fraught with danger. Arjuna asked, "Why is a person impelled to commit sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if by force, O descendant of Vrishni?" Krishna. The Supreme Lord said, "It is lust alone, which is born of contact with the mode of passion, and later transformed into anger. Know this as the sinful, all-devouring enemy in the world. Just as a fire is covered by smoke, a mirror is masked by dust, and an embryo is concealed by the womb, similarly one's knowledge gets shrouded by desire. The knowledge of even the most discerning gets covered by this perpetual enemy in the form of insatiable desire, which is never satisfied and burns like fire, O son of Kunti. The senses, mind, and intellect are said to be breeding grounds of desire. Through them, it clouds one's knowledge and deludes the embodied soul. Therefore, O best of the Bharats, in the very beginning, bring the senses under control and slay this enemy called desire, which is the embodiment of sin and destroys knowledge and realization. The senses are superior to the gross body, and superior to the senses is the mind. Beyond the mind is the intellect, and even beyond the intellect is the soul. Thus knowing the soul to be superior to the material intellect. O mighty armed Arjun, subdue the lower self, senses, mind, and intellect, by the higher self, strength of the soul, and kill this formidable enemy called lust. Chapter 4, Gyan Karm Sannyas Yoga. The Yoga of Knowledge and the Disciplines of Action. In this chapter, Shri Krishna reveals its pristine origin, to strengthen Arjun's faith in the knowledge which he was imparting. He says, "Arjun, as you are my devotee and a dear friend, I am revealing this supreme science of yoga to you. It is the same eternal science that I taught to the Sun God at the beginning of time. And in a continuous tradition, the same knowledge was passed to the saintly kings." Arjun wonders how someone who is almost his age could exist so many eons ago. He asks Shri Krishna, "How is it possible that you gave this knowledge to the Sun God and the others so many years back in time?" Sri Krishna clarifies Arjun's doubts and discloses the divine mystery of his dissension. He says that although God is unborn and eternal, it is to establish dharma, the path of righteousness, that he descends on this earth by his Yogamaya power. His birth and activities are divine and cannot get tainted by material imperfections. Once a devotee knows this secret and engages in devotion with great faith, he attains God and does not take birth in this world again. Then Sri Krishna goes back to Karma Yoga, the subject from the previous chapter. He continues to explain the nature of work and its three principles: action, inaction, and forbidden action. He elaborates that the Karma Yogis, even while performing the most engaging task, are in the state of inaction and do not get entangled in the karmic reactions of such action. Knowing this, the ancient sages performed all their work as an act of sacrifice for the pleasure of God. They were not affected by happiness, distress, success, or failure. He explains that when sacrifice is suitably dedicated, performed with proper knowledge and pure sentiments, then its remnants become like nectar. And by partaking such nectar, the devotees are cleansed of all impurities. Even the biggest sinner can cross over the ocean of material miseries by boarding this boat of eternal knowledge. Sri Krishna says that such knowledge should be acquired only from a genuine spiritual master, who himself is God-realized. Being his guru, Sri Krishna instructs Arjun to cut apart all doubts that have arisen in his heart with this sword of knowledge. He asks Arjun to now get up and perform his duty as a warrior. Chapter 4, Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga. The Yoga of Knowledge and the Disciplines of Action. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna said, I taught this eternal science of Yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, who passed it on to Manu. And Manu, in turn, instructed it to Ikshvaku. O subduer of enemies, the saintly kings thus received this science of Yoga in a continuous tradition. But with the long passage of time, it was lost to the world. The same ancient knowledge of Yoga, which is the supreme secret, I am today revealing unto you. Because you are my friend as well as my devotee, who can understand this transcendental wisdom. Arjun said, You were born much after Vivasvan. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? The Supreme Lord said, Both you and I have had many births, O Arjun. You have forgotten them, while I remember them all, O Parantapa. Although I am unborn, the Lord of all living entities, and have an imperishable nature, yet I appear in this world by virtue of Yogamaya, my divine power. Whenever there is a decline in righteousness and an increase in unrighteousness, O Arjun, at that time I manifest myself on earth. To protect the righteous, to annihilate the wicked, and to re-establish the principles of dharma I appear on this earth, age after age. Those who understand the divine nature of my birth and activities, after leaving the body, do not have to take birth again, but come to my eternal abode. Being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me. Many persons in the past became purified by the knowledge of me, and thus attained my divine love. In whatever way people surrender unto me, I reciprocate accordingly. Everyone follows my path, knowingly or unknowingly, O son of Pritha. In this world, those desiring success in material activities worship the celestial gods, since material rewards manifest quickly. The 4 categories of occupations were created by me, according to people's qualities and activities. Although I am the creator of this system, know me to be the non-doer and eternal. Activities do not taint me, nor do I desire the fruits of action. One who knows me in this way is never bound by the karmic reactions of work. Knowing this truth, even seekers of liberation in ancient times performed actions. Therefore, following the footsteps of those ancient sages, you too should perform your duty. What is action and what is inaction? Even the wise are confused in determining this. Now I shall explain to you the secret of action, by knowing which, you may free yourself from material bondage. You must understand the nature of all 3, recommended action, wrong action, and inaction. The truth about these is profound and difficult to understand. Those who see action in inaction and inaction in action are truly wise amongst humans. Although performing all kinds of actions, they are yogis and masters of all their actions. The enlightened sages call those persons wise, whose every action is free from the desire for material pleasures, and who have burnt the reactions of work in the fire of divine knowledge. Such people, having given up attachment to the fruits of their actions, are always satisfied and not dependent on external things. Despite engaging in activities, they do not do anything at all. Free from expectations and the sense of ownership. With the mind and intellect fully controlled. They incur no sin even though performing actions by their body. Content with whatever gain comes of its own accord, and free from envy, they are beyond the dualities of life. Being equipoised in success and failure, they are not bound by their actions, even while performing all kinds of activities. They are released from the bondage of material attachments and their intellect is established in divine knowledge. Since they perform all actions as a sacrifice to God, they are freed from all karmic reactions. For those who are completely absorbed in God consciousness, the oblation is Brahman, the larle with which it is offered is Brahman, the act of offering is Brahman, and the sacrificial fire is also Brahman. Such persons, who view everything as God, easily attain Him. Some yogis worship the celestial gods with material offerings unto them. Others worship perfectly who offer the self as sacrifice in the fire of the Supreme Truth. Others offer hearing and other senses in the sacrificial fire of restraint. Still others offer sound and other objects of the senses as sacrifice in the fire of the senses. Some, inspired by knowledge, offer the functions of all their senses and their life energy in the fire of the controlled mind. Some offer their wealth as sacrifice, while others offer severe austerities as sacrifice. Some practice the eightfold path of yogic practices, and yet others study the scriptures and cultivate knowledge as sacrifice, while observing strict vows. Still others offer as sacrifice the outgoing breath in the incoming breath, while some offer the incoming breath into the outgoing breath. Some arduously practice pranayam and restrain the incoming and outgoing breaths, purely absorbed in the regulation of the life energy. Yet others curtail their food intake and offer the breath into the life energy as sacrifice. All these knowers of sacrifice are cleansed of their impurities as a result of such performances. Those who know the secret of sacrifice, and engaging in it, partake of its remnants that are like nectar, advance toward the absolute truth. O best of the Kurus, those who perform no sacrifice, find no happiness either in this world or the next. All these different kinds of sacrifice have been described in the Vedas. Know them as originating from different types of work. This understanding cuts the knots of material bondage. O subduer of enemies, sacrifice performed in knowledge is superior to any mechanical material sacrifice. After all, O Parth, all sacrifices of work culminate in knowledge. Learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him with reverence, and render service unto him. Such an enlightened saint can impart knowledge unto you, because he has seen the truth. Following this path and having achieved enlightenment from a guru, you will no longer fall into delusion. In the light of that knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but parts of the Supreme, and are within me. Even those who are considered the most immoral of all sinners can cross over this ocean of material existence by seating themselves in the boat of divine knowledge. As a kindled fire reduces wood to ashes, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions from material activities. In this world, there is nothing as purifying as divine knowledge. One who has attained purity of mind through prolonged practice of yoga receives such knowledge within the heart in due course of time. Those whose faith is deep and who have practiced controlling their mind and senses attain divine knowledge. Through such transcendental knowledge, they quickly attain everlasting supreme peace. But persons who possess neither faith nor knowledge, and who are of a doubting nature, suffer a downfall. For the skeptical souls, there is no happiness either in this world or the next. O Arjun, actions do not bind those who have renounced karma in the fire of yoga, whose doubts have been dispelled by knowledge, and who are situated in knowledge of the self. Therefore, with the sword of knowledge, cut asunder the doubts that have arisen in your heart. O scion of Bharat, establish yourself in Karma Yoga. Arise, stand up, and take action. Chapter 5, Karma Sannyas Yoga. The Yoga of Renunciation. In this chapter, Sri Krishna compares Karma Sannyas Yoga, the path of renunciation of actions, with Karma Yoga, the path of work in devotion. He says, we can choose either of the two paths, as both lead to the same destination. However, he explains that the renunciation of actions is rather challenging, and can only be performed flawlessly by those whose minds are adequately pure. Purification of the mind can be achieved only by working in devotion. Therefore, Karma Yoga is a more appropriate path for the majority of humankind. The Karma Yogis with a purified intellect perform their worldly duties without any attachment to its fruit. They dedicate all their works and its results to God. Just as a lotus leaf that floats on water does not get wet, the Karma Yogis also remain unaffected by sin. They are aware that the soul resides within the body that is like a city with 9 gates. Therefore, they do not consider themselves to be the doer nor the enjoyer of their actions. Endowed with the vision of equality, they look equally upon a Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. Seated in the absolute truth, such truly learned people develop flawless qualities similar to God. The ignorant worldly people do not realize that the pleasures they strive to relish from their sense objects are the very source of their misery. However, the Karma Yogis do not get any joy from such worldly pleasures. Instead, they enjoy the bliss of God, who resides inside them. Lord Shri Krishna then describes Karma Sannyas Yoga, or the path of renunciation. He says that the Karma Sannyasis control their mind, intellect, and senses by performing several austerities. By shutting out all their thoughts of external pleasures, they become free from fear, desire, and anger. And by including devotion to God in all their austerities, they attain long-lasting peace. Chapter 5, Karma Sannyas Yoga. The Yoga of Renunciation. Arjun said, O Shri Krishna, you praised Karma Sannyas, and you also advised to do Karma Yoga. Please tell me decisively which of the two is more beneficial. The Supreme Lord said, both the path of Karma Sannyas and Karma Yoga lead to the supreme goal. But Karma Yoga is superior to Karma Sannyas. The Karma Yogis, who neither desire nor hate anything, should be considered always renounced. Free from all dualities, they are easily liberated from the bonds of material energy. Only the ignorant speak of Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga as different. Those who are truly learned says that, by applying ourselves to any one of these paths, we can achieve the results of both. The supreme state that is attained by means of Karma Sannyas is also attained by working in devotion. Hence, those who see Karma Sannyas and Karma Yoga to be identical, truly see things as they are. Perfect renunciation, Karma Sannyas, is difficult to attain without performing work in devotion, Karma Yoga. O mighty armed Arjun, but the sage who is adept in Karma Yoga quickly attains the supreme. The Karma Yogis, who are of purified intellect, and who control the mind and senses, see the soul of all souls in every living being. Though performing all kinds of actions, they are never entangled. Those steadfast in Karma Yoga always think, I am not the doer, even while engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, moving, sleeping, breathing, speaking, excreting, grasping, and opening or closing the eyes. With the light of divine knowledge, they see that it is only the material senses that are moving amongst their objects. Those who dedicate their actions to God, abandoning all attachment, remain untouched by sin, just as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. The yogis, while giving up attachment, perform actions with their body, senses, mind, and intellect, only for the purpose of self-purification. Offering the results of all activities to God, the Karma Yogis attain everlasting peace. Whereas those who, being impelled by their desires, work with a selfish motive become entangled, because they are attached to the fruits of their actions. The embodied beings, who are self-controlled and detached, reside happily in the city of 9 gates, free from thoughts that they are the doers or the cause of anything. Neither the sense of doership nor the nature of actions comes from God, nor does He create the fruits of actions. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature, gunas. The omnipresent God does not involve Himself in the sinful or virtuous deeds of anyone. The living entities are deluded because their inner knowledge is covered by ignorance. But for those whose ignorance is destroyed by divine knowledge, the Supreme Entity is revealed, just as the sun illumines everything when it rises. Those whose intellect is fixed in God, who are completely absorbed in God, with firm faith in Him as the supreme goal. Such persons quickly reach the state from which there is no return. Their sins having been dispelled by the light of knowledge. The truly learned, with the eyes of divine knowledge, see with equal vision a Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. Those whose minds are established in equality of vision, conquer the cycle of birth and death in this very life. They possess the flawless qualities of God, and are therefore seated in the absolute truth. Established in God, having a firm understanding of divine knowledge, and not hampered by delusion. They neither rejoice in getting something pleasant nor grieve on experiencing the unpleasant. Those who are not attached to the external sense pleasures, realize divine bliss in the self. Being united with God through yoga, they experience unending happiness. The pleasures that arise from contact with the sense objects, though appearing as enjoyable to worldly-minded people, are verily a source of misery. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, so the wise do not delight in them. Those persons are yogis, who before giving up the body, are able to check the forces of desire and anger, and they alone are happy. Those who are happy within themselves, enjoying the delight of God within, and are illumined by the inner light. Such yogis are united with the Lord and are liberated from material existence. Those holy persons, whose sins have been purged, whose doubts are annihilated, whose minds are disciplined, and who are devoted to the welfare of all beings, attain God and are liberated from material existence. For those sannyasis, who have broken out of anger and lust, through constant effort, who have subdued their mind, and are self-realized, liberation from material existence is both here and hereafter. Shutting out all thoughts of external enjoyment, with the gaze fixed on the space between the eyebrows, equalizing the flow of the incoming and outgoing breath in the nostrils, and thus controlling the senses, mind, and intellect, the sage who becomes free from desire, fear, and anger, always lives in freedom. Having realized me as the enjoyer of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all the worlds, and the selfless friend of all living beings, my devotee attains peace. Chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga. The Yoga of Meditation. In this chapter, Sri Krishna continues the comparative evaluation between Karma Yoga, the practice of spirituality while performing worldly duties, and Karma Sannyas Yoga, the practice of spirituality in a renounced state. He reiterates that Karma Yoga is a more practicable path than Karma Sannyas. When work is done with devotion, it purifies the mind and enhances the spiritual realization. The mind then becomes tranquil, and meditation becomes the primary means of elevation. The yogis strive to conquer the mind through meditation because a trained mind is the best friend. An untrained mind can be the worst enemy for a spiritual aspirant. Sri Krishna cautions Arjuna that by merely engaging in severe austerities, one cannot progress on the spiritual path. Therefore, moderation must be maintained, even in basic necessities like food, sleep, work, recreation, etc. Sri Krishna then explains Yoga Sadhana, or the spiritual practice for uniting the mind with God. He says, similar to a lamp that does not flicker in a windless place, a sadhak should practice keeping his mind steady in meditation. He agrees that it is difficult to restrain the mind, but it can be controlled by practice and detachment. Therefore, whenever it wanders away, one needs to bring it back and continue to focus on God. Then the mind gets purified and is established in transcendence or samadhi, which is a joyous state where one experiences infinite divine bliss. Arjuna asks, what happens to those spiritual aspirants who begin their journey, but due to an unsteady mind, they are unable to reach their goal? Sri Krishna reassures him that those who strive for God realization are able to overcome evil. God keeps an account of all our accumulated spiritual merits from past lives and reawakens their wisdom in future births. In this way, they can continue their journey from where they had left off. And with the help of their accrued merits from previous lives, in their present life, the yogis fast track towards God. The Lord then concludes this chapter with a declaration that the yogi, who strives to unite with God, is superior to the tapasvi, ascetic, the jnani, person of learning, and the karmi, ritualistic performer. And highest among all the yogis is the one who engages in bhakti, loving devotion of God. Chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga. The Yoga of Meditation. The Supreme Lord said, those who perform prescribed duties without desiring the results of their actions are actual sannyasis and yogis. Not those who have merely ceased performing sacrifices such as Agnihotra Yajna or abandoned bodily activities. What is known as sannyas is non-different from yoga, for none become yogis without renouncing worldly desires. To the soul who is aspiring for perfection in yoga, work without attachment is said to be the means. To the sage who is already elevated in yoga, tranquility in meditation is said to be the means. When one is neither attached to sense objects nor to actions, such a person is said to be elevated in the science of yoga. Having renounced all desires for the fruits of actions, elevate yourself through the power of your mind, and not degrade yourself. The mind can be the friend and also the enemy of the self. For those who have conquered the mind, it is their friend. For those who have failed to do so, the mind works like an enemy. The yogis who have conquered the mind rise above the dualities of cold and heat, joy and sorrow, and honor and dishonor. Such yogis remain peaceful and steadfast in their devotion to God. The yogi who are satisfied by knowledge and discrimination, and have conquered their senses, remain undisturbed in all circumstances. They see everything, dirt, stones, and gold, as the same. The yogis look upon all, well-wishers, friends, foes, the pious, and the sinners, with an impartial intellect. The yogi who is of equal intellect toward friend, companion, and foe, neutral among enemies and relatives, and unbiased between the righteous and sinful, is considered to be distinguished among humans. Those who seek the state of yoga should reside in seclusion, constantly engaged in meditation with a controlled mind and body, getting rid of desires and possessions for enjoyment. To practice yoga, one should make an asana in a sanctified place by placing kush grass, deerskin, and a cloth, one over the other. The asana should be neither too high nor too low. Seated firmly on it, the yogi should strive to purify the mind by focusing it in meditation with one-pointed concentration, controlling all thoughts and activities. He must hold the body, neck, and head firmly in a straight line, and gaze at the tip of the nose, without allowing the eyes to wander. Thus, with a serene, fearless, and unwavering mind, and staunch in the vow of celibacy, the vigilant yogi should meditate on me, having me alone as the supreme goal. Thus, constantly keeping the absorbed absorbed in me, the yogi of disciplined mind attains nirvana and abides in me in supreme peace. O Arjun, those who eat too much or too little, sleep too much or too little, cannot attain success in yoga. But those who are temperate in eating and recreation, balanced in work, and regulated in sleep, can mitigate all sorrows by practicing yoga. With thorough discipline, they learn to withdraw the mind from selfish cravings and rivet it on the unsurpassable good of the self. Such persons are said to be in yoga and are free from all yearning of the senses. Just as a lamp in a windless place does not flicker, so the disciplined mind of a yogi remains steady in meditation on the Supreme. When the mind restrained from material activities and becomes still by the practice of yoga, then the yogi is able to behold the soul through the purified mind, and he rejoices in the inner joy. In that joyous state of yoga, called samadhi, one experiences supreme boundless divine bliss, and thus situated, one never deviates from the eternal truth. Having gained that state, one does not consider any attainment to be greater. Being thus established, one is not shaken even in the midst of the greatest calamity. That state of severance from union with misery is known as yoga. This yoga should be resolutely practiced with determination, free from pessimism. Completely renouncing all desires arising from thoughts of the world, one should restrain the senses from all sides with the mind. Slowly and steadily, with conviction in the intellect, the mind will become fixed in God alone, and will think of nothing else. Whenever and wherever the restless and unsteady mind wanders, one should bring it back and continually focus it on God. Great transcendental happiness comes to the yogi whose mind is calm, whose passions are subdued, who is without sin, and who sees everything in connection with God. The self-controlled yogi, thus uniting the self with God, becomes free from material contamination, and being in constant touch with the Supreme, achieves the highest state of perfect happiness. The true yogis, uniting their consciousness with God, see with equal eye, all living beings in God and God in all living beings. For those who see me everywhere and see all things in me, I am never lost, nor are they ever lost to me. The yogi who is established in union with me, and worships me as the Supreme Soul residing in all beings, dwells only in me, though engaged in all kinds of activities. I regard them to be perfect yogis who see the true equality of all living beings, and respond to the joys and sorrows of others as if they were their own. Arjun said, "The system of yoga that you have described, O Madhusudan, appears impractical and unattainable to me due to the restless mind. The mind is very restless, turbulent, strong and obstinate, O Krishna. It appears to me that it is more difficult to control than the wind." Lord Krishna said, "O mighty armed son of Kunti, what you say is correct. The mind is indeed very difficult to restrain. But by practice and detachment, it can be controlled. Yoga is difficult to attain for one whose mind is unbridled. However, those who have learnt to control the mind, and who strive earnestly by proper means, can attain perfection in yoga. This is my opinion." Arjun said, "What is the fate of the unsuccessful yogi who begins the path with faith, but who does not endeavor sufficiently due to an unsteady mind, and is unable to reach the goal of yoga in this life? Does such a person who deviates from yoga get deprived of both material and spiritual success, O mighty armed Krishna, and perish like a broken cloud with no position in either sphere? O Krishna, please dispel this doubt of mine completely, for who other than you can do so?" The Supreme Lord said, "O Parth, one who engages on the spiritual path does not meet with destruction either in this world or the world to come. My dear friend, one who strives for God realization is never overcome by evil. The unsuccessful yogis, upon death, go to the abodes of the virtuous. After dwelling there for many ages, they are again reborn in the earth plane, into a family of pious and prosperous people. Else, if they had developed dispassion due to long practice of yoga, they are born into a family endowed with divine wisdom. Such a birth is very difficult to attain in this world. On taking such a birth, O descendant of Kurus, they reawaken the wisdom of their previous lives, and strive even harder toward perfection in yoga. Indeed, they feel drawn toward God, even against their will, on the strength of their past discipline. Such seekers naturally rise above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. With the accumulated merits of many past births, when these yogis engage in sincere endeavors to make further progress, they become purified from material desires and attain perfection in this life itself. A yogi is superior to the tapasvi, ascetic, superior to the jnani, a person of learning, and even superior to the karmi, ritualistic performer. Therefore, O Arjun, strive to be a yogi. Of all yogis, those whose minds are always absorbed in me, and who engage in devotion to me with great faith, them I consider to be the highest of all.